Now, in the interim, Haiti has a new government. Will it be any better than the last one? Well, you've got to go to the Oracle for an answer to that, and his name is Kim Ives, journalist and filmmaker and friend of the show. Kim, welcome back on the mother of all talk shows. Are you filled with joy at the new government in Haiti, or should we reserve judgment?
Yeah, I think it's best, George, to reserve judgment. This government is really a new hybrid between what used to be what they called the radical opposition to Jovenel Moise and the PHTK party of former President Michel Martelly. The head of the radical opposition is a guy called Andre Michel. He heads the coalition of sorts that is called the Democratic and Popular Sector. And so their members, as well as those of the primary Social Democratic Party in Haiti, called the Fusion, as well as these PHTK heavyweights, are what filled the 9 new posts, the new appointments out of 18 total ministries. So half of them were reshuffled to more or less assuage the very impatient opposition, which was beginning to almost get ready to break ties with Ariel Henry, the prime minister, because he had not reshuffled the cabinet. Usually with these cabinet reshufflings, there's a couple of posts which are really key. Things like Interior Ministry, Justice Ministry, Foreign Affairs, Public Works to some extent for all the jobs that can be given out. And in Haiti, practically the only industry that's functioning is the government. So it's a big deal who gets the jobs as ministers so they can give to their friends and families and partisans jobs on the government payroll. So it's very interesting, though, to look at one particular post, the Justice Minister. This is a guy called Berthaud Dorsey. He had a sort of, I could say, Lavalas lineage and pedigree back in the day. But in 1997, he was arrested and spent 6 months in a Haitian jail for involvement in drug trafficking. Today, he is the Justice Minister.
Wow.
And not just the Justice Minister, but he's also the lawyer for some very big mafioso of the PHTK party of Michel Martelly. And this is important to understand because he's the lawyer for Charles Kiko Saint-Remy, who is Michel Martelly's brother-in-law and the chief drug trafficker in Haiti. He is for Dimitri Vorbe, who is one of the big bourgeois individuals who was at great odds with Jovenel Moise. And he is also the lawyer for a number of the other families. I could go into more depth if you'd like, the Moise family, the Colley family, and others. So his appointment is very important because one of the things that may have contributed to Jovenel Moise's July 7th assassination was his arrest precisely of Sanson La Familia, who was sort of the poster boy for mafia corruption and criminality in Haiti. He was charged with everything under the sun, from kidnapping to theft. And he was re-arrested by the Haitian authorities with the cooperation of the Dominicans in May of last year, May 15th. And then 2 months later, Jovenel Moise was assassinated. So it's looking more and more, George, like Kiko Saint-Remy and his minions may have had a hand in this assassination of Jovenel Moise. And now we see a justice minister who's basically going to probably free them all.
Well, that anticipates my next question. The last time we spoke, the president had just been murdered. Let's call it what it is. He was murdered in front of his wife in his family home. Everyone said they were determined to get to the bottom of it, including the United States government, which offered all assistance. Haiti's not a massive place. The list of suspects is relatively short. How's the investigation going?
Well, it's completely on ice. It's completely forgotten. You wouldn't even know it had happened if you were to listen to the news around Haiti these days, because the whole focus is on other things. And those other things are primarily the uprising of the vast lumpen proletariat of Port-au-Prince. But the assassination of Jovenel Moise and the calls for justice for Jovenel Moise, because as many problems as people might have had with Jovenel Moise and his bending over for the US in terms specifically of Venezuela, to some extent Western Sahara too. He opened up an embassy there. So it was being the errand boy of Trump in the final days. But nonetheless, he became something of a martyr. The fact that this foreign mercenary hit squad came in, machine gunned him in his bedroom, and now you don't hear anything about it. So, they've arrested a bunch of people who are obviously nothing, either dupes like this unfortunate pastor/doctor Sanon, who clearly didn't have the money, means, or anything to carry out a plot of this size. This cost millions and millions of dollars, 3 months of having 30 mercenaries basically on standby in safe houses throughout Port-au-Prince. So we don't know who's behind it, but the circumstantial evidence points increasingly to this bourgeois sector. We talked about it on the last show, Reginald Boulos and Dimitri Vorb, with Kiko Saint-Remy. Increasingly, I'm thinking may have been involved as well.
Now, lastly, Kim, and I'm grateful for your time, especially as you've plainly got a cough. Can you tell us what happened to the you mentioned the lumpen proletarian, the slum dwellers in Port-au-Prince. What happened to the political mobilization that you described to us last time you were on the show?
Well, it's still ongoing, George, and even gaining momentum. I would say that there's been a total demonization campaign against this movement, headed by the National Endowment for Democracy, which is a cutout, as you know, of the CIA, does basically the political work that the CIA used to do covertly before it was founded in 1983 under the Reagan administration. And one of their principal tools in doing their work are what they call the human rights organizations in Haiti. These have been the ones leading the charge against this front. And the biggest thing, George, I think your listeners and viewers should know is that there's just, in the mainstream media, which is another tool of this machine, they make a conflation of the criminal gangs, the genuinely criminal gangs like 400 Maozo, 400 Maozo, which has now for 15 North American missionaries they're still holding. They released 2 of them last week. They had kidnapped these 17 missionaries and were demanding $17 million ransom. You don't hear anything about this in the news, the same way as you don't hear about the assassination. There's other gangs like the group in Village de Dieu of Izo, the gang leader of T. La Please gang in Grand Ravine, T. Gabriel in Cité Soleil. These are genuinely criminal gangs involved avowedly in kidnapping and so forth. And against them, ranked against them is the G9, what's called the revolutionary forces of the G9 now, who are fighting that criminality, the kidnapping, the extortion of small merchants, the rape that goes on, et cetera. And yet the two are conflated, and because the principal target of the US government, which has Magnitsky sanctions against the leader of this lumpen proletariat movement, Jimmy Cherizier, is that, you know, this could end up leading to a social revolution. They are asking for an overthrow of the system, not just politically by putting in another progressive president, as Jean-Bertrand Aristide came into power in 1990 and 2000, but really to take over the means of production of the bourgeoisie, which owns it. As he always says, it's 85% of the nation's wealth is in the hand of 5% of the population. So this is a very alarming program, as we can imagine, to the US Embassy and its allies in Haiti.
Kim Ives, you really are the oracle. You're an encyclopedia of the events there. Please stay in touch and we'll review progress of this new hybrid government in due course. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.